Leading up the chain of command is a strategy that isn't often talked about, but it's a great thing to do if you want to increase your quality at work and decrease the amount of stress you experience. You have probably heard about leading down the chain of command, right? Managers managing their people and, their employees managing their work, right? That's how all corporations are structured. That's how all work is structured, is that hierarchy from going up to down. Leading up the chain of command is not as well known, but can drastically increase quality at work and maximize your true potential there. Leading up the chain of command is, in essence, managing the relationship between you and your superiors. At work, there's a lot of natural friction between your boss and yourself, or your superiors and yourself, right? They're making a lot of requests. You need their approval for a lot of things. They interrupt your work very often. In one of my last videos, we talked about how they aren't aware of the majority of the work that you do. There's a lot of natural friction between that relationship. And so it's very easy to feel like your boss is against you, which makes it hard for you to do your job, right? We end up villainizing them, and it's just not a very productive work environment when we're not working as a team and not on the same page. But that us against them mentality that you may feel towards your boss or towards your superiors is not productive thinking or problem solving thinking. And it will increase the amount of stress and anxiety you have at work and decrease the amount of influence you could have to make it better. Leading up the chain of command is all about us setting the tempo for our relationship rather than letting our boss set the tempo for our relationship. It's up to us to take action and to work within the restraints that we're given. So here are 5 things we can do to manage our relationship with our superiors in order to lessen our stress at work. Point number 1, acknowledge that they are not an enemy, but an ally. What you want to do for this point is you want to sit down and ask yourself, does your boss or do your superiors want you to fail? If the answer is no, and it most likely is no, then we have to take a moment and analyze our position through their eyes, right? Because again, going back to the Harvard Business Review study, managers, superiors only really know about 40% of the work that you and I do. And so we need to take a moment and realize that if they're only aware of 40% of what we're doing, there must be a reason that they're asking for this information that I'm not aware of. They probably have other things on their plate. They understand the company's priorities better. They're working on other projects we're not aware of. And in essence, they are trying to do what's best for the company, even if it does interrupt our work or frustrates us with their request. And so we have to take a moment and actually fully realize that they're not our enemy, that they are actually our ally, and we need to work together with them in order to find a smoother path to success. Point number 2, give them what they need before they need it. And if that's impossible, give it to them quickly. The faster you give them the information, the faster they can move on with whatever they're working on, and the less that they're interrupting your work. In simple terms, what you want to be doing as you're working is you want to be making notes of the questions that your bosses or your superiors are asking of you frequently. Detect those patterns and then try to get ahead of them, right? If you send a report out once a week and your boss always asks this question, or if this issue pops up every other week and you inform them of the problem that popped up and they always ask a couple of questions, recognize those patterns and try to get ahead of them. Answer those questions before they ask, so that over time you have all the questions answered already, which increases the speed and decreases the amount of time that your manager or your boss is requesting information from you. That just alone right there will drastically decrease the amount of stress you have and increase your productivity at work. A way that I like to think of this is if they ask me a question, I did not give them everything they needed up front. And that falls to me to adapt and to do better in the future. And I totally get that you may be rushed or you may be in the middle of something. However, if you put a little bit more effort into that original email and make sure that all questions are answered in that original email, then you'll save a lot of time down the road and you'll once again increase the speed of everyone's productivity, and you'll be able to go back and focus on what you need to focus on where your manager won't be constantly interrupting you. Point number 3, if you're going to inform them of a problem, also include potential solutions to that problem. This kind of plays back off of our previous point, but in essence, what's happening is you're coming into a problem and, in most cases, we kind of just shoot it off to our boss or to our superiors. But what you want to do is you want to look at the problem, analyze what the actual issue is, and come up and develop some potential solutions for the problem. You don't have to commit to a solution, but what you want to do is you want to send that off to your boss, to your superior, with a couple of options that they can take. This drastically decreases the amount of communication between the two of you because, one, for you to come up with those solutions, you will already have had to think thoroughly through the problem, which means that you can communicate the problem in a much better way, in a much more full way to your boss or to your manager so that they better understand the problem. And then with the solutions that you develop, all your superior has to do is just select one and just, give you the green light to move forward with that one. And again, that drastically decreases the amount of emails and the amount of communication going back and forth, which once again allows you to go back and focus into your work and to minimize that communication or minimize those interruptions. Point number 4, don't let your one-on-ones be static and or useless. So one-on-ones are a great opportunity to help leverage and manage the relationship between you and your boss, right? Leading up the chain of command. These are very often kind of overlooked and ignored and, a lot of the time skipped, but you can take these one-on-ones to connect to your boss, communicate all of the top things that you are doing and and then communicate all the things that you are committing to do within the next week or 2 weeks, however your frequency goes with one-on-ones. And by doing that, your boss isn't going to constantly be asking you about, hey, what you're doing, where are we at on this project, X, Y, and Z. So you want to take those one-on-ones and leverage that time in order to communicate as much as you can to your superior so that they know exactly where you are, they know exactly where you're going, and so they're not constantly bombarding you with questions. And on top of that, if you are in a work environment where, let's say you do that, but you're working on, multiple projects, your boss needs status updates often on those projects, detect the frequency in which your boss needs those status updates and go ahead and preemptively give them those status updates, right? Are they asking for status updates every day, every other day? Send the email every other day at the beginning of the day so that they don't bother you or interrupt you, right? Take the initiative and get ahead of it so that they're not interrupting you when you need to be focused on your work. So take the time during your one-on-ones to update your boss on where you are and where you're going so that you can be on the same page and avoid interruptions throughout the week. Point number 5, communicate your personal brand to your boss. I just did a video on this topic, so if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. It's on how to develop your personal brand at work. But in essence, your personal brand is very similar to like a one-on-one, just at a helicopter POV or helicopter viewpoint, right? Where one-on-ones is going over what you did in your previous week and what you're working on in the future week, whereas your personal brand is more so, right, what are you working on currently, and where are you going, more long term rather than the short term. So it's very similar, as far as like a framework is concerned. And so you want to be communicating that to your boss, to your manager, exactly like we talked about in the previous video, because that will avoid a lot of other questions that your boss may have and may be pestering you with. And you can make this part of your one-on-one framework or your one-on-one routine, right? Where you go over what you did last week, you go over what you're committed to do, and then, you review, aspects of your personal brand, right? Your character traits, and your skills, and you can incorporate that into what you did and what you're planning on doing. And then you can also bring up, like, what are we doing long term? What's our long term strategy, and how does that, play into your personal brand? But by communicating that and talking about that with your boss, you'll both be on the same page, not only for what your work week looks like, but also what like the month and what the quarter looks like. So again, you guys are on the same page on all the major aspects of work, which drastically reduces the amount of interruptions you get and does a really good job of managing the relationship between you and your manager. Because by going over these topics and this stuff, you're making sure that your manager is getting everything they need out of you. And if they're not, it gives them an opportunity to communicate that so that you can once again get ahead of it, take the initiative, and solve those problems before your manager even asks you of it. Just incorporate that into your routine, and you're drastically reduce the amount of interruptions that you're getting on a daily basis. And there you have it. Now you know how to manage up the chain of command in order to drastically reduce the stress you experience at work and to increase your quality of life. And again, this is done by acknowledging that they're not the enemy, by giving them what they need before they actually need it, when informing them of problems also present solutions, by not letting your one-on-ones become static and useless, and by communicating and working on your personal brand with your boss at work. If you do this, your interactions will have a lot less friction and you'll gain a lot more respect from your superiors. So try this out. Let me know how it goes in the comments down below. And if you have any other questions, once again, post them down there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want more content like this, then go ahead and subscribe down below so that you don't miss a single video. And if you want to level up at work even more, check out my free course down below on the Eve method. It will show you how to determine the best possible way of getting your work done at work in order to drastically increase your productivity, save you massive amounts of time so that you can spend that time in other areas of your life.